Hello. Well, it's been a while, hasn't it? It's actually been about 3 weeks since Santa Pod. Unfortunately, after Santa Pod, I did come down with COVID, so that knocked me out for a couple of weeks. And I've been doing other things like fixing my motorbike and other bits and bobs, but all that's done now and we can bring our focus back to the car. Round 2 of the 754 Motor Championship at Pembrey took place. It did highlight some issues. I.e. rain and things like that. But anyway, before we talk about the car, let's talk about a couple of things that I want to do with this channel. In the UK, we're very fortunate to have a wealth of motorsport available to us. It's probably one of the most diverse motorsport countries in the world, if not the most diverse. And I'm going to explore that and share that with you. To that end, I've also made a secret purchase that I'm not going to share with you yet. I'm going to bring that to you at a later date. Maybe towards the end of this month. Anyway, without further ado, let's talk about where we are with this car. Well, this is pretty much as it rolled into the garage from Santa Pod with the mirrors all still skew with. So there's some things that I kind of would like to do and some things that I really need to do. Now, the really need to do is this front bonnet here. This front bonnet here, it just feels like it's going to fall apart every time I take it off the car. In fact, if you look carefully, and I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but you can see that it's almost got a crack in the paintwork already. So that needs to come off and have some reinforcement added internally, whether that's an extra layer of glass fibre, which I might do, or I'll glass in some extra structure in there. I'm not sure yet how I'm going to solve that problem, but that's one thing that must happen, I think, before we go back to the track. Obviously, the second thing that happened was the bonnet blew off. That's because of an aerodynamic issue. I removed the oil cooler from this car because I couldn't make it fit. And it really does need to have the oil cooler added, so that's another job, adding the oil cooler. But it did mean that air coming in through the front of the bonnet was just blowing straight in and causing a high pressure area under the bonnet. This basically forced it to blow off at pretty much bang on 80 miles an hour. So oil cooler needs to be added. We probably can get away without that for a track day, but really it needs to be added. We also need to strengthen the front bodywork, and we also need to add an extra layer of cowling around the radiator to guide the air out of this gap in the car between the engine cover and the front bodywork. So those are the must-dos. Now let's get on to the like-to-dos. One thing I noticed pushing this car back in the garage after Santa Pod was that the wheel still seems to be rubbing a little bit on the brakes. Now, looking at the brake specifications, the size of disc that we've got isn't really suited to a 13-inch wheel. It's more suited to a 15-inch wheel. They're way bigger than they need to be, which means they're actually heavier than they need to be. So I'm going to take them apart and I'm going to take probably about 10mm radius off to make it lighter and smaller, and then try and move that caliper inwards as well. Not only will that make it lighter, but it also means we should be able to find a wheel that fits over it. At the moment, I'm struggling to find an extra set of wheels so I can put wets on. That's what was highlighted at Pembrey because there was a wet race. Okay, so what we also need to do is we need to look at the differential. It does seem to be very long geared because of the final drive and the diff. That's something we're going to park at a later date. When we do take the diff apart as well, we also need to redo the seals because there is a small leak coming from the ends of the diff casing. Another issue that I've got is the steering column is still clashing with my feet. Unfortunately, it is as high as it can go. So we may have to relocate the steering column. As you can see, there's really not much space, so exactly how I relocate it so it misses the carburetor and everything, I'm not sure, but I think it really needs to happen. The other issue is the pedals. The pedals are in a really bad position. I really don't like them. I can drive with them, but they're not great. I would really like to put a pedal box, a properly made pedal box in there. I'm not sure if one will fit. We'll check that, and it will mean that we'll have to redo the front pedal structure as well. But again, that's something we can worry about once we've got the car working and it's completed a track day. Anyway, that's where I am with the project. I'm gonna give the garage a really good tidy up, and then we're going to be helping Greg finish his car so we can get out on track. And then we'll start worrying about designing all the bits we need to do. But the first thing I think I will do is reinforce this bonnet and then go from there.